Okay, so you have been researching Central Oregon and you keep coming back to the same question: Redmond or Bend? And the answer is more simple than you think. But I can actually walk you through that because there's more to it than just the price tag, even though the price tag is a huge part of it. I live in Redmond. I work all over Central Oregon, and I have had this conversation probably 100 times. So let's just get into it. Here's how I think about Redmond and Bend. Bend is Batman. Redmond is Robin. They're both great. They're both on the same team, but Batman has all the gadgets. He has the Batcave, the fancy car. He's a millionaire. He has the whole setup, and Robin is the strong one, the reliable one, the one who actually holds things together and does great things without needing all the fanfare. And here's the thing about Redmond that I think a lot of people don't really know. Many people live in Redmond but work in Bend. And a lot of people who grew up in Bend live in Redmond because it reminds them of the town that they grew up in. And that tells you something. Okay, let's talk about the money because we have to, and I know you're interested. Number that changes everything. Redmond's median list price right now. So homes coming onto the market, that median number is $610,000. In Bend, their median list price is $922,000. That is a $312,000 difference for the same Central Oregon lifestyle, the same access to Smith Rock, the same Mount Bachelor, the same Big Sky, just 15 minutes apart. In Redmond, that budget is going to get you a home with a real yard, room for a garden, probably a 3-car garage. You've got room for your dog, room for your kids, you got a trampoline, everything's running around outside. It's great. In Bend, that same $600 will get you something, but it's going to be a little bit smaller and it'll be more on the entry level side of the market. Neither's wrong, but $312,000 is nothing to sneeze at. And for most families that are relocating from out of state, that's the number that makes the decision for them. I'm sure you're asking, how do they get so different? So Bend used to be a small town. It has grown in population, doubled in size 3 times over the last 100 years. It used to be just this tiny little mill town, and then the mill closed down and Mount Bachelor opened up and blew up as a ski resort destination. So it slowly over the years became something different. It's a resort town now, lots of outdoor recreation magnet. And then the last time that it got really crazy was during the pandemic when like remote work kind of was, anybody who could work remote can live wherever they wanted. And a lot of people moved to Bend. People flooded here from California, the Bay Area, Seattle, Portland. And with all of that demand, the home prices shot through the roof. People who actually grew up in Bend, the ones who work at the resort, at the ski lodge, at the restaurants, they got priced out of their own city. So where'd they go? Redmond. Because Redmond is what Bend used to feel like, and that's not an accident. It's just what happens when a city grows super fast. Prineville, Madras, Lapine, they're not far behind Redmond, so it doesn't stop just here, friends. So if you're asking me what is Redmond actually like? Redmond is called Flag City. And what you'll see when you drive through is flags on porches, flags in front of businesses, flags lining the street on flag holidays. And it's not something that we really make a big deal about. It's just part of our culture here. People are proud of where they live, and in a quiet way, they show up, and you see it in the clean streets and the neighbors who actually know each other. Redmond also leans a little bit more conservatively than Bend. The city is well ran, well maintained, And because it's a little bit lower in elevation than Bend, we get a little bit less snow in the wintertime. If you're coming from Texas, you're probably like, well, whatever, it's not a deal breaker either way, but it's worth knowing that we do get a little bit less snow in Redmond. The landscape is different in Redmond. Even though we're only 15 minutes apart, Redmond is juniper trees, sage, wide open sky. The Dry Canyon Trail runs straight through the middle of the city, and it's the kind of trail that you end up on a Tuesday evening after dinner without having planned it. And if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that's like my whole thing. I actually went down today and did a little run walk thing. Redmond also has the airport. Roberts Field, direct flights to all major West Coast city, and some people like to call it the Bend Airport. Well, it's not the Bend Airport. It's Redmond's airport. And we just let Bend take credit for it, I guess. What we don't have, and I'll be real with you because I am a river person, is the Deschutes River running right through town. And that is something that I am genuinely jealous of with Bend. And another thing that Bend has that we don't have is a big restaurant scene or Costco or Target within the city limits. It's 15 minutes away, but it's not in our town. But if you're coming from like a big metropolitan area and you can drive 15 minutes through like where you see public land and trees and sagebrush instead of like sitting at the same light cycle for 5 cycles before you can even go through, it's not that bad. Now you're like, well, what's Bend like? Bend is legitimately a great city. I want to be clear about that because even though I'm a Redmond resident, I live here, I think Redmond is wonderful. I don't want anybody to think that I'm throwing any shade at Bend because Bend is wonderful and I am down there quite a bit. There's a really walkable downtown. They have an awesome farmers market, the restaurants and the breweries, the Old Mill District. We drive down to Old Mill to get pho so frequently. There's lots of great shops in there and restaurants. They have just amazing food. There's also some really cool trails. Like my friend Jessie lives in this neighborhood where we hop through her neighborhood and get on the Deschutes River Trail, like from her neighborhood. So the trails are like woven through the neighborhood. Mount Bachelor's 45 minutes away, Smith Rock 30 minutes. The lifestyle and the infrastructure in Bend is real and it completely delivers. It's busier than it used to be, but you won't know. You've never lived here before. Traffic on the main corridors is a real thing now. So people who've lived here for 10 years will tell you traffic is terrible, but those roundabouts are pretty dang slick coming from a gal who's been in like stoplight world her entire life. A little bit like, since it's grown so much, it's lost that small town feel a little bit. I think a lot of people fell in love with in a way, but it also has that kind of like Denver's little brother vibe. Like it's very mountain town, but also city is happening. Bend is going to give you exactly what you're looking for. You'll pay for it, but you'll get it. Okay, so quickly, let's talk about the market real quick because right now it just entered June 2026 and both cities have the same market action index, which is a little tool that will show you if we're in a buyer's market or a seller's market. And right now, both cities are sitting at 32, which is a slight seller's advantage. Neither market's crazy like it was in like 21, 22, but it's not a buyer free-for-all either. Redmond, like I said earlier, median list $334 per square foot. The median days on market is 56. If we have a lot of inventory right now, so if you're a buyer, you have a lot to choose from. Bend, the median $922,000, $432 per square foot. Same median days on market, 56, but 42% of listings in Bend have reduced their price, which means that the market is kind of still figuring out its normal after that pandemic growth. The bottom line is, if you're coming in with a $600,000 budget, Redmond puts you right in the middle of the market with real options. In Bend, that same budget will get you an entry-level home and you're working harder for less property or updates. So now you're probably like, well, which one is for me? Okay, here's the real answer. If you want more home for your money, a quieter pace, a community that feels like a real town, a little bit less snow, and you're okay driving 15 minutes to Costco, Redmond's probably your place. You still get everything Central Oregon has to offer. You just come home to something calmer and you keep more money in your pocket. If you want to be in the middle of it all, you want the walkability and you want the river and you want the, all the shops and restaurants, and you have the budget, Bend is going to make you happy. And here's what I can tell you from actually working with families who are relocating to this area. Most of them end up in Redmond. Not because Bend isn't great, but because they came here for the lifestyle and the outdoors and the pace. And all of that is equally accessible in Redmond at a price point that actually makes sense for their life. Robin gets the job done, and Robin is underrated. If you're trying to figure out still which one of these is actually right for you and your family, and you want a straight answer from somebody who works in both markets and lives in one of them, I'm happy to have that conversation. The link is in the description. You can find me at soldincentraloregon.com. That same handle on all of the social channels, or reach out to me directly. I'm Diana. I'll see you on the next one.